Hello, friends, and welcome to the next episode of the Like Anime podcast. I am your host, Tony, and I'm joined by a random nameless person. What was your name again, sir?
George.
Oh, hi, George. It's very nice to meet you.
Hi,
Have I,
guys.
have I seen you somewhere before?
Yes, we meet here weekly, and I'm concerned.
I would be as well.
Sounds like you are.
I don't know where I'm going with this bit. Anyway, so we get together and we talk about anime, and that's what we're going to do now because we like anime. We watch anime. You're probably listening to us because you also watch and like anime. If you don't watch or like anime, feel free to continue listening. Maybe you'll find something that you like and you'll start watching it with us. And
or,
then you can write us letters or emails or what do these kids do these days?
or maybe our soothing voices lull you to sleep like no other, and you come back to the well each night.
Mm, it sounds nice. I'm kind of tired right now, actually. I'm gonna take a nap. You wanna kick us off?
We are back. We are in the middle of new episodes of a season of spring 2021.
That's right. Week one. This is week one, part two. Um, so in this episode, we're going to be covering all of the Saturday stuff, which right now is not as humongous as I just tried to make it sound, but it's going to be in another week or
We're
two.
going to start small, and you'll see.
Yeah. So we've got a handful of new shows to talk about. We've got a couple of shows from last season that we just sort of want to wrap up that we didn't wrap up in our last episode. And I don't know. We'll probably talk about some other random nonsense along the way too. So, first up, we've got Boku no Hero Academia, also known as MHA.
My hero.
So, in our last episode, we covered the season opener, which was an anime only. It wasn't really a recap, I guess, but it was
Like a reintroduction.
Yeah. It was an anime only sort of filler thing to start off the season, to sort of get you back into the My Hero spirit, and it's hinted at things that would be happening in episode one, and now we're going to talk about those things, which they did take a while to get to them, unfortunately, but yeah. How did this episode start?
Well, here's your spoiler warning.
That's right. Spoiler warning for everything that we talk about because we don't know how to not spoil things.
So this episode picked up because it kind of hadn't shown the whole story, but it picked up from where the teaser at the end of the last season ended. After Endeavor gets his butt kicked, defeating this Nomu, and Hawk's the number 2 hero, Endeavor's the number 1 hero. But yeah, the two top heroes are fighting and get their. I mean, Endeavor really gets beaten down. But then right after that, one of the, I forget his name, but he's one of the heavy hitters from the League of Villains with
Staple face guy, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember his name either.
Shigaraki's, one of his dudes. Yeah, and so he shows up and is kind of threatening them. So it picks up from there, and we get to see what happens. And he looks like he's about to start fighting them, and then another hero, which I'm not sure who she is either, but she had heard about the fight and like jumped in and saved them.
Yeah. She said her name. She probably even had a hero title card like they do. I didn't write it down.
Me neither.
Anyway, yeah, she comes in and I mean doesn't really save them. She just shows up and staple face guy, as we're calling him now because we don't remember his name. He just sort of says, "All right, I'm out of here." I guess.
I mean, she throws like a kick or some sort of strike in there, and then he's like, "All right, I'll leave." Like, he was there to retrieve the Nomu's body, I guess. That they had sent to wreak havoc. Yeah, and then after that, I mean, the first half of the episode was more about Hawks and what he's got going on. Do you remember that stuff?
I do remember. Was that the next thing? I thought the next thing was Endeavor and the family business stuff. Wasn't there Endeavor family stuff?
Yeah, I didn't write that down, but yeah, that's true.
Okay. That was so I mean that's where for me as a, interpersonal drama interested person, those too many words. As a person who is interested in anime for the characters and the drama between those characters, like that was, it was sort of something that I was waiting for them to get to because Endeavor is trying to be a better father, I guess.
I guess.
He's trying to make up for his lack of being a even decent father in the past. Um, and he's not really, I don't know. I say he's trying to make up for it, but he's not. He's really just sort of like saying, "Hey, I'm sorry I was such a jerk in the past, and I hope you forgive me." And unsurprisingly, his children, for the most part, don't forgive him. The daughter is happy to, I guess.
Well, she seems like she's trying to orchestrate like a
Sing along.
mediation or some sort of trying to mend things.
Yeah, a hugging.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Let's
yeah.
all come in and the other brother. I guess he's older than
The
Todoroki.
eldest. Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, he storms off and
Yeah.
has like a. I liked what this scene was trying to do because like it was trying to we haven't gotten a lot from the Endeavor family dynamics. We've got just little tidbits here and there, and so it's interesting to see them kind of hash this out. But it all seems so like I don't know what the word is, but kind of stiff or something. Like I wasn't even convinced that Endeavor really cared until they brought it up. Like he did ask because they had a flashback to him asking All Might, who is now no longer the number one hero, kind of asking him advice on just how to be a better person, like essentially.
Right.
And so Endeavor just seems like he's hard to relate to me as a person because his emotions seem so like they're not even there, like he seems, like almost like a Dexter. That's not an anime, but he almost seems like sort of like he's got some mental issues. But
Dexter's Laboratory is animated. Is that not?
That's true. A different Dexter.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Showtime.
Yeah. Anyway, he does seem somewhat aloof emotionally, and yeah, that whole. I remember that conversation that he had with All Might when they were watching the finals of whatever it was last season. And yeah, that also felt stilted, like he was, like
like he had an ulterior motive or something.
Yeah, like he's like he knows what emotions he should be feeling and how he should feel about things, and so he sort of puts on an air similar to Dexter that you referenced. But Dexter's really good at that, so it's not really stilted, right?
Yes.
Whereas
he's perfected that.
Yeah. He's not. So yeah, is Endeavor a psychopath or a sociopath? Probably. Okay. Actually, yeah.
I hope that that's the case, and that it's just not like they didn't flesh it out. I hope it's intentional, and I'm assuming that it is, but it didn't. It came off kind of awkward to me, or could have been framed better. But
yeah, and again, I don't know if it was intentionally done that way or not, but I definitely got that same vibe of what you're talking about.
I'm not off the mark there.
It could be that it was done intentionally, which if they did that intentionally, they did a really good job of making it subtle enough that we're not even sure. But then
like if there's a scene later where Endeavor just loses it.
I mean, he has lost it in the past.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. And I guess that's the problem is we've seen him kind of go off the handle, but we haven't really seen like what he's like. He's so mysterious and guarded otherwise that it's like, who is this guy? Like,
yeah, we haven't gotten much of a look other than like, stuff that we've heard from Todoroki in previous seasons. We haven't got much of a look at his family life.
Yeah. So maybe this is a sign of things they're going to delve in deeper, I hope.
Yeah.
But I like the attempt. It just came off a little awkward. So I don't know.
And then, so we said, like, the daughter is all on board. The older brother is, like, no, forget it. You screwed up too bad. There's no way I'll ever forgive you, basically.
Yeah.
And then Todoroki is just kind of like, I mean, I'm with him. Like, you screwed up. There's probably nothing you can do. But at least I'm saying probably. So he's willing to, I wouldn't say he's willing to give him a chance, but he's not going to just completely shut him down, I guess. So
I sense like a little apathy there where he's just kind of like, at this point, I don't really, I'm not going to let it bother me that much.
Yeah.
But, you are kind of a dick, but I'm not going to leave the room about it.
But then there was so this whole conversation reminded me of in the I guess it was at the end of the previous season after Endeavor became the number one hero. Um, and he some fight or something, and then he goes. There's some kid that's like a big fan of his, and he goes to like sign an autograph for the kid. Is this sort of the sign that he's like trying to turn over a new leaf and be like more.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and then the kid's like, "No, you don't sign autograph." Like he expects him to be this jerk, but I don't know. I felt like that sort of
I forgot about that.
that thing that they set up sort of played into this, where it is like he honestly is trying to sort of turn over a new leaf. He's trying to be the symbol that All Might was, since he's now the number one hero.
But he has no idea how to do it, so it's really awkward and forced.
Yeah.
Which it adds up.
Anyway, so that's the family scene with Todoroki's family.
Yes.
And then the next thing that you were setting me up to talk about was
yes, because I completely forgot about that. Yes. Then I feel like there's been a lot of shows I've seen. I don't know. It's just such a common thing of all these reveals of like who's double crossing who. So the way it's portrayed in this episode is like Hawks is meeting with the staple face guy, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
In like a dark alley, or it seems like it's daylight, but they're in like a dark place, rendezvous. And it makes it seem like he clearly he had told leaked intel about I don't know where they were going to be to send the Nomu, and like that it had kind of been set up, that whole thing.
Yeah, it seemed like the idea was that Staple Face guy was telling Hawks where the Nomu was going to be so that he could show up and like sort of fake fight it, and maybe I guess they were supposed to beat it the whole time. Like that was the idea, but
then this one was harder than the other ones,
right?
And that seemed unexpected to Hawks. But then,
well, and part of what was unexpected was they had said like, oh, it's going to be over by the docks on like Friday night or whatever, and this was like Thursday, nowhere near the docks.
That's
basically
true,
that was part of the reason that Hawks was like, what the heck, man. And Staple Face guy was like, well, I didn't know you were going to bring the number one hero and completely destroy my Nomu, but I mean, of course, I don't know what was supposed to happen then, I guess.
Yeah, I was confused with that too. Like, what was the original, like, I don't know. How did they originally strike a deal in the first place,
Yeah, like was Hawks just supposed to beat it by himself so that he could, show that he deserves to be the number one hero? Was that what the idea was? Because that wouldn't have worked out very well.
Yeah. Or was he just supposed to like pretend to get taken out, but then really get taken out, Yeah, that was odd. But then they immediately, after that scene, they immediately showed that Hawks was only doing it for these higher ups in what I assume is like the hero organization or the government. It wasn't really clear. It's like just some, business clothed people in an office room.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm forgetting that I should know who these people are, but I had no idea.
I don't know. Yeah, government people.
Yeah,
hero council or something. I don't know what they're called.
And they didn't seem like they weren't portrayed as being that like sinister or mysterious or like powerful. Like they just seemed like they were just doing their job, or it seemed very like just like oh, thanks for coming to this meeting.
Thanks for coming to this exposition meeting.
Yes.
Could you exposit some information that the audience needs to know, please?
For this thing that we just made you think he was double crossing, he's actually working for us, but us is someone we don't actually know. Who? I mean, I assume that just a bunch of assumptions. But then later on, because of this, he's deceiving Endeavor about leaking this information because he's working for these other people who I assume are still in affiliation higher up with the heroes and the government or something, right? Unless it's just some third party that we don't know about. I don't know. But so it was just weird to me where like there's like double crossing, but then he's also deceiving Endeavor about it, and I don't know. It was a lot. Very fast.
Oh, what a tanglewood. Yeah. Cut that out. I'm not going to say it again. I give up. So the staple face
This isn't the
guy's
spider
name.
anime. There's no web weaving.
Spider face guy's name is Dobby.
Oh, Dobby.
Yeah,
Or the
yeah.
staple face. You said spider face.
Oh, did I? Stable face. Stable face guy's name is Dobby the house elf. I mean, no, it's just Dobby.
Dobby. I should remember that. It's like Dabi or something.
Yeah.
Dobby.
Dobby.
Okay, so Dobby. Yeah, I don't know. What did you think? What did you think about all that? Because I kind of like, I don't know if I bought it, but
I don't know. Like I didn't feel like what they were selling was like hard at all. It was just sort of like, yeah, we're supposed to be led to believe that he's conspiring with the enemy because he wants to be the number one hero. Hawks, I mean, of course, is conspiring with the enemy because he wants to be the number one hero. And then they just immediately turn it around and say, oh, no, but that was a double ruse. You know, he's actually working for us, pretending to work with them so that we can gain more information about the League of Villains. Um, I don't know. I guess it's probably an important plot point going forward, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe it was just sort of a one-off thing that they were like, oh, this is happening too, in case, there's not enough interesting things going on for you. And I mean, to be honest, there's not super interesting, I guess. Like the family drama, I guess, is cool, and like I don't know. But then next
yeah, the latter half of the episode.
Next is the thing that they teased at the end of episode 0 of this season, which is the source of Midoriya's powers, the source of All Might's powers, the source of everyone who had the power before them. Yeah, and that was the thing that was teased that was like super hype, and yeah, like right at the end. Did I skip over anything? I think I'm skipping to the end pretty far, but I think
that's pretty much
we're pretty much there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, we get sort of a look into the mind of Deku.
Yeah, he's having this very, I guess not prophetic, but it's just very educational dream.
Yes, very expositional dream.
Yes, exposition for sure. And it was kind of like, it's like we didn't see him the entire episode leading up directly up to that, and then they just go immediately into it. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But yes, he sees like a line of people who are presumably the order of who had One for All, his power that he was given by All Might. Although All Might wasn't, I didn't see him in that lineup. Although 2 of the far figures were kind of obscured.
But those ones were supposed to be further back. But yeah, you're right. But All Might is still alive, so maybe that's why.
That's true. It's all
maybe they're all supposed
ones.
to be dead.
Yeah. So I imagine this is going back like a long time, right? I mean,
looks like it's going back quite a ways, unless they were just cranking through them and everyone died every year or something.
Yeah, right. They couldn't handle it. And then so we see this lineup, and then we get like sort of a backstory of. I didn't consider, because I was like, oh, this is definitely like the origin story of One for All.
Yeah.
And how that came to be, but then I didn't consider, like you were hinting at, that was how everyone got their powers. Like it was from this one. Is that what you're saying? From this one?
No, not everyone.
Oh, okay, but just okay.
Just everyone in the All Might line.
Yes. Okay, I agree with that.
Yeah, because it started with the brother of One for All. Did I say that right? I always get those two mixed up.
Yes. Yeah.
One for All's the bad guy?
No, that's a good one.
Oh,
All for One is greedy.
All for One's the bad guy.
Yeah.
One for All is the power.
Yes.
Okay. See, that's why I didn't say it earlier, because I knew I was going to mess it up. And yeah, you just told me, and now I've already forgotten which one's which. So anyway,
All for One is the bad guy. I always think All for One, he's like selfish, and like just self-serving. So this is like an older brother. The story that we learn. A brother.
Was it older brother? I don't remember.
I just assume, but I don't know, just because of the dynamic. But who knows? Yeah, just a brother who has a lot of has powers and can grant other. I don't know. Give his power to other people. He seemed pretty powerful. Like he was able to.
Oh, you're saying that All for One is the older brother.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Yes. Then I agree with you. I believe that is correct.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I thought you were saying the other way, and I was like,
oh yeah, no.
But yeah. So Midoriya, in looking at this whole this line of predecessors who have the power. One of the sort of shadowy, distorted figures, way towards the beginning of the line, it sort of, I don't know, it talks to him or just starts showing him this or something like that.
Yeah, kind of reveals
And
himself.
yeah, it turns out he's the younger brother of All for One.
Yes.
I got that right that
Yeah.
time,
Nice.
huh? Turns out he's the younger brother of All for One, and that he has no powers.
Yeah.
And All for One wants to give him powers, but he, the younger brother, whose name I guess we don't know.
You don't remember they just said younger brother, older brother. Like
Yeah,
there
yeah.
wasn't a lot of purposely, and their eyes were sort of like shadowed. You could see most of them, but they were still kind of like, yeah, we weren't supposed to know everything about them, I guess.
Yeah. So the younger brother basically doesn't want his older brother to give him powers because he sees how his older brother uses his power to give other people powers and then sort of demands them to I guess become part of his army or whatever. And
Yeah.
he has nefarious plans apparently,
Yeah.
which of course we know somewhat from season 2, 3. When was it with that whole All for One thing?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Way back.
So yeah, and then at some point, I don't know exactly what happens, but they're having an argument, and then
Well, it seems like they're having an argument, and then it cuts to the younger brother kind of just being locked in a room. It seems, like he's just being held, by the older brother.
Yeah, because he has refused to,
comply. Yeah,
right. But then All for One puts his hands on him, and I'm assuming this is the origin of the powers, where he has been waiting for his younger brother to agree and ultimately decides, well, I'm not waiting for you anymore. I'm just going to give you this power and
he just forcefully
do with it what you want. I guess maybe.
There's some sort of, I guess by that logic, there would be some sort of contract. If you agree to do my bidding before, as I give you the power, then you're indebted to me. But then if I just give it to you without you, I don't know. I don't know. Like trying to ensnare someone versus.
Yeah. And I don't think there's any sort of like contract or anything exactly with the other people. It's just more that they are grateful for the power that has been given to them.
Yeah. The context under which he is, cured there. Yeah. Because he shows like two examples. One guy is like disfigured and he,
doesn't want the power. And this other guy has no power.
Yeah.
And
wants
gets beat up on the regular and wants a power, I guess. So then he just kind of swaps him over and says, okay, now you got this guy's power. This guy has no power. You're both now happy. And because they're happy, they are now like loyal servants of All for One.
So he essentially can't. His younger brother, he's unable to buy him, or to.
Yeah.
He has no price. So he just gives it the power to him.
Priceless. But yeah, that pretty much covers all of the events that occur in this episode. How did you feel about it for like a first episode back?
I was a little underwhelmed. There's a lot of information, a lot of exposition. That word's come up a few times with this one. Things seem like we need to know, but the way it was delivered was kind of, I don't know, like just kind of telling, just, I don't know. I didn't feel like wrapped up in the story. It was kind of a bit of a false start for me. I didn't dislike it. I gave it a 6 overall. But which is hard to rate it anyway, since it's we're in the fifth season. Yeah. It's like, okay, I already like the show and I'm not going to stop watching it, but I don't know. What did you think as a return to?
Overall, pretty good. Like 6-ish. I would probably say. Like I didn't mind it. Like I expect there to be, some, it's not really world building at this point because the world is already built. We already know basically everything about it, but it's story building, arc building. Like they have to set up what the next arc is going to be, and they've got all the pieces that they have to put in place. So they did a lot of that. I don't think they did it in a heavy-handed way. Like it was fine. They didn't give us a lot to be excited about, other than at the end when they were sort of revealing the source of Midoriya's power. Like that was kind of a big reveal, I think.
Yeah,
You
for
know.
sure, yeah.
But other than that, the rest of the episode, yeah, it was fine. I like the family stuff, like I said. I'm interested to see where that goes. I think it is probably building towards something dark.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that.
Me too. Yeah.
What do we have next, George?
We have a show titled Vivy, Fluorite Eyes Song.
Thank you for saying that. I always mess it up every time I say it. All right, so yes, Vivy is what I will call it since I can't manage to say the rest of the title correctly for some reason. Anyway, so Vivy, when it debuted this week, they put out 2 episodes at the same time. I do like my notes are separated between episode 1 and episode 2, so I should be able to talk about them separately, but I did watch them back to back, so there's sure to be some intermingling of thoughts between the two. I felt very similarly about both episodes. But yeah, Vivy had a similar problem to one that we mentioned last episode, where like there's just so much being revealed, like their world building that they're doing is just so rapidly paced and everything's just sort of flying at you. It did that a lot in episode 1. I barely kept up. I think I had to pause and actually go back a couple of times because I just, yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, so it started off kind of weird because like the first few minutes, it seemed like it was sort of like an idol show with some sort of sci-fi themes plastered on. Because there was like the opening title sequence with music, and then there was like this whole other musical number after that. I was like, what is going on with this? This is not at all what I expected because it's thought was supposed to be primarily sci-fi. But then it sort of flip-flopped that whole thing and went to being more of a sci-fi show with sort of an idol theme plastered on for no apparent reason, in fact. But yeah, the setup is there's this AI idol or diva. Diva is her name, I guess, actually. Although she's given the name Vivy by someone else. But yeah, her name, I don't know what her actual name is, I guess. The title of the show is Vivy. But doesn't matter. She's called Diva. So for the most of this episode, they refer to her as Diva, except for the one time that this little girl, who's her only fan in the whole world, says that her name is Vivy for some reason. Anyway, the whole premise is that she's supposed to somehow save the world because she is the first fully autonomous AI, apparently. When they decided that, the first fully autonomous AI should be an idol for some reason.
Japan? Yeah, that sounds about right.
And they've got a whole bunch of like setup things like these AIs, they're androids basically. So these AIs are created with only one mission because they found that, if they had more than one mission that they were trying to balance things, that things went wrong. So they said, every AI will only have one mission from now on, basically. And her mission is to make people happy with her singing. And so anyway, because she's the first fully autonomous AI, she is kept in a museum after she's no longer in service, I guess. And then like 100 years in the future, when the AIs have basically started this revolution and are sort of overthrowing humans and killing them, the only way that they're able to send something back through time is they have to have an AI that existed at that time. And since she's the only one, because all of the other ones have been decommissioned, but she was the first one, so she was put in a museum. So they used her to send this other artificial intelligence back through time, who then takes over this teddy bear that she had been given by this little girl who was a fan of hers. If none of this makes sense to you, it's okay. It barely makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. I mean, like you said, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's all just sort of jammed in there. Yeah. Yeah. So this future AI, takes over her teddy bear and basically says, "Yeah, I need you to help me stop the AI revolution of the future." And
Terminator.
you just have to do what I tell you to do. And she's like, "Well, but my only mission is to make people happy with my singing. And apparently there is a secondary rule underneath that, which is, that whole 3 laws of robotics thing. You can't let a human come to harm by inaction or whatever. So she is forced to sort of enact that and, sort of do what this future AI tells her to do, as long as it doesn't conflict with her primary mission, apparently. I don't know, man. It's a mess, honestly.
Oh God.
So that's most of the first episode. This future AI seems to mostly just give her just a little bit of information at a time and never tell her more than a little bit, which is going to be annoying.
Is the future AI in the teddy bear? Is that
somehow the intelligence of, or the I don't know, yeah, the intelligence of that future AI traveled back using her body as a conduit to the past, and then he occupies this teddy bear, and so then this teddy bear sort of follows her around. It didn't look like a mechanical teddy bear before, but once he's in there now, it's like all laser lights and mouse pads. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, and getting into the second episode, I guess, it becomes apparent that this future AI who resides in her teddy bear can basically, actually that's even still in the first episode, can basically take over and control any electronic device. So he can move to a different AI if he wants to. He can move to a different, form if he wants to at any time, like they show him in the second episode in a couple different ones. So that begs the question, if he can basically take over and control any AI, why wouldn't he just take over and control her if he needs her for some reason? But he doesn't really need her. He just used her as a conduit to get to the past. Now that he's in the past and he can take over the body of any electronic thing, he could just go and save the future by himself. He doesn't need this girl who just wants to sing and make people happy. All right. I think I've ranted to an extent that
so
I should probably cut back a little bit.
Your consensus is poor.
Yeah. After the first episode, I gave it an optimistic 6 because it was rapid fire. A lot was happening. It could go a lot of different ways, but after the second episode, it's like a 5. I haven't officially dropped it. We'll see how I feel next week when it comes time to watch it again. I may just not even watch the next episode, but at this point,
on that line. Yeah,
at this point, I'm thinking I'm going to give it one more and see if it improves at all. But it's a rough watch. Those first 2, like, I understand why they put out 2, because if they just put out that first one, I might not have watched the second one. Honestly, it was so just like,
Jeez.
So yeah, that's Vivy Fluorite Eyes Song. Hey, I said it right. So proud of myself. Pat myself on the back.
It's your favorite show, and you got the name right.
It looks so promising too, like sci-fi, and there's like this little animated teddy bear thing, and like there's a little bit of idol in it, which is, I like some idol shows occasionally. Like, it had so many things going for it, and it's a hot mess.
It's almost like it sounds to me like they figured out the plot like in reverse, or it was like, all right, how can we have like a cute teddy bear who can be any other cute thing with the drop of a hat, and then also have an idol with singing?
It doesn't have to be cute things. Like, in episode 1, he I keep stuttering, but the bad guys that they're going up against are wearing these goggles that sort of give them like a heads up display thing or whatever, right? So he takes those over to make them see things that aren't actually happening.
Oh wow!
So that he can help. Vivy
He's like a gremlin.
Escape. Yeah, he can affect any electric. They're putting bombs in a building to blow up the building, and he just like sort of takes over the bombs and like shuts them off. You would think that would be sort of the end of it, but no.
They do everything with computers these days.
Yeah, it's
even the bombs.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was on my short list of things I might check out, and
it looks nice, and like the ideas are all great and everything, but no.
I'll probably hold off. Although maybe I'd love it.
No,
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, based on your review.
All right. What's up next?
Now we got a show that I have seen,
Hmm.
Thunderbolt Fantasy.
Oh, is that an anime?
It's like anime in that it's adjacent to, very
Hmm.
similar in the
Yeah.
vein of.
And I have not watched this. So just
Mm,
like I just ranted about Vivy for, I'm actually not even sure how long that rant was.
hours.
Feel free to rant, hopefully in the other direction, because I know you love this show. So hopefully it's a positive rant rather than mine.
Yeah, or mixed, you never know. Yeah, Thunderbolt Fantasy, for anyone who's not familiar, it came up when we talked about, what shows we're hyped about, of course, because I am hyped about it. The first two seasons have been really great. It's this live action puppet show with swords and sorcery galore, and it's really great. It's kind of takes a little bit to get adjusted to. It's looks like nothing else you've probably seen, but it's also very anime esque. I know Tony's seen a little bit of it. It's either jarring and you want to turn it off, or you're intrigued. So you know right away. That's the beauty of it. But I really like it because it not only looks really cool and has this unique visual, style, but the story is really good. It's very simple, but the characters are interesting and they're well written, and there's a lot of really great just character moments that I love. This season, though, it was kind of weird. Like the 2018, I had to look it up because it's been a while, but 2018, the second season ended. That's like almost 3 years ago. Maybe it is 3 years ago. I didn't look at the exact month, but yeah, almost 3 years ago. And this one picks up right where that one left off. And I didn't really, I remembered vaguely, but I had to rewatch the end of the second season just so I could be like, oh, yeah, okay. Like it literally just picks up right from there. And I don't know, I liked it, but I was a little underwhelmed as well with this one. Um, I was gonna mention because they did like a an April Fools, which was just this last weekend. They did a like crossover with Fate Zero, which I've never seen, but they had and it wasn't part of the show, but they just did like this like they made a puppet for Saber, who's a character in
Oh.
the Fate series, and she basically gets summoned into Thunderbolt fantasy world, and like her and the main character of Thunderbolt have like an epic battle, and
Huh.
it was fun. So I was that got me hyped even more. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to gauge with this because it's like I'm already interested in it, but this episode just kind of set things up. I felt like things were moving too quickly again. That seems to be a theme with some of these shows,
Mm.
that, at least on my end. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot to say. I got to see where it's going. It kind of maybe just disappointed because I'm just expecting it so much, and then it was not really didn't really exceed anything, and so I'm
Mm.
left kind of
Okay.
wanting more and feeling a little dissatisfied.
So the last season didn't really wrap up into a finale. It was just sort of open ended, and then this just sort of picked up just straight up. Or
Well, there was a there was an enemy of last season that they defeated,
mm,
but basically he like fell off a cliff, and so the second or this third season opens with them, the main cast, searching for his body because he fell
oh,
with one of these mythical swords that is super powerful. So like we
oh,
need to find this sword, and we don't know if he's actually dead, and they never find him. But then they stumble in to what's setting up this season. So it's kind of like and they literally just stumbled into it, and
mm.
even the villains were like, "How did you get here?" Like, it was like, "Well, now that you're here, let us tell you what's in store." So it was kind of like that, whereas didn't wasn't set up that great. So I don't know. I I have to withhold my complete judgment and see where it's going, because I'm
Okay.
thinking maybe because usually when there's like an actual break in a season story wise, they kind of like get you back into it, kind of some reestablishing shots and
Yeah.
what's going on, kind of. But this was just directly back in, like it had just picked up from last year, but it was
Mm.
3 years ago. So
Or from last week. It's
yeah,
just like, oh, it's just the
yeah,
next
it's
episode.
back.
Yeah.
It was jarring in that sense.
So
I
they
was
haven't
like,
really introduced like what the arc is going to be yet.
not entirely, but the show's pretty simple. Like essentially, the main character has this mythical scroll that it contains these swords, all these different swords that could bring the end of the world. And so he's gained these over the few seasons and is protecting them. And so it's pretty much going to be that. But yeah,
Wait, so the scrolls are the swords or what?
yeah, there's some sort of element of some sort of magic element of being able to convert the swords into the scroll so that they
Oh, okay.
for safer keeping, I suppose. It's like a
Oh,
spell kind of
yeah.
thing.
Huh.
But yeah, so it's kind of weird because he just carries the scroll like with him. So he's just protecting it, and till he till he dies, I suppose. But yeah, that's essentially it. I mean, the story in and of itself doesn't sound that engaging, but once you get to learn the characters, it's kind of all weighted in that for me.
All right. So do you have a number score for this, or you?
Yes, I gave it a 6.
6. All right. So
it's another
sort of a little bit better than middle of the road, but
yeah.
All right. I mean, overall, not counting this, what would you give like the previous 2 seasons, not individually but altogether? How is the show as a whole?
I mean, it's definitely an 8, if not higher. Okay. I haven't really thought about it, but definitely no lower than an 8.
Okay, so this one's starting off a little bit weak, but
yeah,
it's got room to grow. So
it does, and I'm just hoping it doesn't. And a lot of these shows this season, I'm hoping it doesn't repeat this sort of rushing the plot points thing. Like,
Yeah, is that a symptom of COVID or something? Is that what's going on?
I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. That kind of came up when we talked about The Promised Neverland, if you haven't heard that episode. Yeah. But wondering, like if some of these decisions of, how things are paced and how, I don't know. It's weird.
We got to get it done before we all die.
Yeah, right?
Tell the pandemic. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And well, especially with Thunderbolt Fantasy, I wonder because it's not animated. They're all in a room. It's actually people throwing these puppets around, and they got puppeteers.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's
they got all these people together. So I don't know when they actually filmed all this, but hopefully, hopefully, I hope that's not the case. But because I don't know, if story has to suffer, that's, I don't know. I don't want that.
Yeah, I mean it seems like it would be better to just hold off instead of putting out something rushed, But then again, at the same time, like the TV stations and stuff are probably hurting for content, because there's been so many things that have been pushed off and canceled and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
and you got to work. You can only put that off for so long.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on that throughout the season and consider that if maybe COVID has affected. I don't know, these shows more than just them being delayed.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, that's Thunderbolt Fantasy, which, as we said, is not technically an anime, but it feels a lot like an anime. And moving on, we're going to move to also not an anime, but it is animated. It's not puppets, but it is not made in Japan. It's not what you would classically call an anime. It's a very sort of Western style of animation. But I thought I would just sort of throw this in as an honorable mention. It came out a couple weeks ago, I think. There's 4 episodes out now, and that is the Invincible cartoon. Have you watched any of this?
I haven't. I've seen like the title card, and I'm curious about it. It's based on a comic from a while back. I'm not sure.
Quite a while ago, I think. Okay. Yeah. But you're somewhat familiar with it because of our mutual friend Colin.
Yes, and I know I know about the cast. It's got a lot of names I recognize and people I like. I know Jason Mantzoukas is on it, but I forget. There's a bunch of people, but
J.K. Simmons.
Oh, J.K. Which is he's fantastic.
Sandra Oh, right?
Oh, she's on it too.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a bunch of names. I don't know if I can remember enough of them to keep going through this list, to be honest with you. But Steven Yeun, he's from the Walking Dead. Yeah. Anyway, yes, lots of good actors. I don't know if they're good voice actors or not. In having watched it, I would say they're all pretty decent. So
good enough.
But it's not an anime. It is comic book superheroes and Boku no Hero Academia. I mean, that's superhero based. So we got sort of that tie-in as well. I just wanted to talk about it because this show has been a long time in the making. Like it's been optioned so many times to have like a movie made and other things, and it's been years and years and years, and they finally made something. So yeah.
Yeah.
It actually starts off a little rough in watching like the first like 5 minutes of it. It looked like it was going to be really bad. Honestly, I don't know if they did that on purpose or not, but like
Writing wise, animation wise, or what are we talking? Just
the
everything.
the animation looks like pretty standard Western animation.
Is it like a
kids
old
cartoon
school
sort of thing.
throwback kind of thing, or is it just look modern?
It looks like a modernish cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not super 3D or CG or anything like that,
Mm.
but yeah, it just sort of looks like a modern cartoon in the way that it's drawn.
Okay.
But just the dialogue, the voice acting in the first scene, the story content, which is almost non-existent in that first scene, is like, yeah, nothing much of consequence happens. It's just like two people talking about nothing, and then suddenly like there's an explosion and stuff happens, and I don't want to spoil too much of it or anything or give anything away, but after that initial scene it does get better. So if you start watching it and you get to that scene and you decide you're not going to watch any more of it, just push through until you get to the title card, which is I think about halfway through the episode. Actually it's probably further than halfway through the episode, but it does get better before that. But I would say finish that first episode and you'll probably be in for another one.
How long are the episodes?
45 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're longer than
Dang, yeah.
your standard anime, which you tend to clock in like 24, 25 minutes. So it's like a double episode sort of thing. And I think I said already, there's 4 episodes out now. I think they dropped, I don't know if they dropped if they dropped 3 at first or if it was 2 and then it's been a couple weeks since then. I don't remember. But yeah, I have watched all 4. It's definitely like well scripted other than that very first scene. I don't know what was going on with that one. I really don't. But it's well scripted. It's interesting. People who read the comic might be disappointed in some character changes. But I having not read the comic myself, just having sort of heard about it and knowing the story of it and stuff, I didn't even know that they had changed anything about the characters. So it plays pretty well. And yeah, like I say, I just kind of wanted to talk about it and say, it's not anime, but if you like anime, you might also like this. I'd give it probably a 6. I mean, I watched 4 episodes at this point. I should probably have a more sort of in-depth rating than just giving it the standard 6. But I don't think it's quite a 7 yet. It's still got a ways to go to get there. So.
Okay.
So yeah, it's still. I mean, it's maintaining a 6. It's not like Vivy, who went from 6 to a 5.
Yeah.
In the course of a week. So yeah, it's a decent show. It looks like style wise, sort of looks like a kid's cartoon. It is not a kid's cartoon. Don't watch this with your kids. A lot of language, a lot of blood, a lot of violence.
Okay, a lot of violence. Well, hey.
Yeah. It is a cartoon for grown-ups.
Now you got my attention.
Yeah, there's some really great like just blood spewing out of severed heads sort of
Excellent,
stuff. Yeah.
excellent. You should have opened with that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to give too much away, but I can say that there's a lot of spewing blood and blood everywhere sort of scenes, and
Excellent.
it has some darker tendencies to it. Yeah. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. I guess probably move on to more anime. Except next up is Dinosaur Byoui, which we were both looking forward to, but we cannot find any place to watch it. So it is still on our to watch list. And if it gets picked up by someone, gets licensed somewhere that we can watch it, we will check it out.
It's a short, right? So that's probably why. But
I mean, Crunchyroll picks up a lot of shorts usually, so I don't know if they pick them up late like this very often.
I know that I remember that happened with Wakako Zake.
Was that when it got picked up late?
Yeah. I remember initially we were doing a similar thing that we're doing now, but there was no recording of a podcast. Right. But yeah, I remember we had to watch that through surreptitious means before a couple weeks. I don't remember how long, but it was like a few weeks or something, and then
Hmm.
Crunchyroll picked it up.
Huh.
Maybe it was only like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I don't know, but
Huh.
you would imagine if it's cute enough that someone would get it. I mean, why not? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there was like last season, there was a lot of these like little, 5 minute things that I had intended to check out, but they still aren't available
mhm.
anywhere. I mean, there's one of them that has fan subs for like half of the episodes, I think, but then like nothing after that. So
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, sometimes these things just get swept aside, I guess. So we'll see if anything comes with Dinosaur Byoui if we're able to watch it. If so, we will. We'll pick it up from there. It's only 5 minutes. Shouldn't be hard to catch up, right?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Um, but yeah, that's everything that's in my list of anime that we're watching on this Saturday.
Same for me.
You sure there wasn't something else that you said was airing on a
Oh
Saturday?
yeah, this is a Saturday. I forgot. Yes, there's another show. Totally, it's not on the list, guys. Sorry.
Do you want to roll it back so that you can just
No, no, this is
all right.
perfect. This is perfect. Let me get to my notes. I was totally prepared. It's funny because I was thinking earlier about like, oh yeah, that'd be cool when I can bring up that show. And this is the time, guys.
Now is the time.
All right. So Tony doesn't know what show this is because
I do
I
not.
decided to watch it.
But I do have a sealed prediction sitting on the
You do
table in
actually.
front of both of us, and I'm pretty sure it's wrong
And
because of the day of the week that this is airing on. But please inform me.
so this show, I was checking out what kind of people were digging outside of what I had watched, and this show popped up. And it's one we had talked about last time, a couple weeks ago, and we both decided not to watch it. But it is called Those Snow White Notes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
All right.
Mashiro no Oto, I think, is
That sounds right.
the Japanese title.
I before you go, I'd like to reveal my guess.
Yes, let's do that.
It is incorrect. I thought you were going to watch Combatants Will Be Dispatched because
Oh,
it looked like hot garbage, like X Arm was, and
oh yes, that's
you
right.
have a tendency
That's
towards those
right.
sorts of things. So, yeah, Mashiro no Oto. Yeah, it just didn't look appealing to me, but I'd love to hear about it.
Yes, I also. I mean, we watched the trailer and saw the poster, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay. But then I saw it was getting some buzz online, so enough so that I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And yeah, I quite liked it. It's
And this is the one about the Shuriken players, right? Shuriken, is that right?
yes, yeah, the
Sh-
main character plays.
Shuriken. Sorry, in case no one gets that, that's what George said in our what
Yeah,
we're going to be watching
I made a
episode.
goof. I made a
Yeah, yeah,
goof,
and I just wanted to call him out for it.
and I knew it was wrong shortly after it left my mouth, but it was too late at that
Mm,
point. But yes, I meant to say shamisen,
yeah.
which is a traditional. I don't know if it's Japanese or just Eastern culture, but it's like a guitar ish,
Mm,
that thing that's played with like sort of a giant little like triangular pick,
yeah, I think it's
thick.
Japanese. It's
It seems
it's
Japanese,
it's
yeah.
sort of lute related, I
Yes, yeah,
think. Yeah.
yeah, and it has a very recognizable sound. And this I like the show a lot, and it grabbed me from the very beginning scene, which I always love. You know, I hate it when I don't know. It's just I don't know. Where you begin is important, I think. First episode, and it just really grabbed me, and it was showing our main character's grandpa doing a performance for like a small group with on his shamisen, and it was very gorgeous sounding, and the it looked like the shamisen itself had some 3D CG going on,
Mm,
but it was blended really nicely, and it kind of I don't know, it's like you could tell they put a lot of work into how it looked, and it really just captured the magic of the music, and I was just in, and in that scene they show the main character and a brother, I think, like peeking through a door, like they're not supposed to be up and they're watching their grandpa play. And so yeah, I mean, I won't give too much away. I like it. It's about a character who the grandpa basically dies later on after that scene. There he's teenaged, and his grandpa's dying wish is for him to stop playing because he's essentially and he's like, what, why? And he's like, well, you're essentially just copying me. You don't have your own style. And he's like, until you can actually play for yourself and stop trying. And he's like, but yeah, I am trying to be like you because I look up to you.
Mm.
But his grandpa and these words echo in his mind, and so he leaves his home of some rural snowy place in Japan and goes to Tokyo, and is kind of seeking, I don't know, seeking answers and kind of lost. Had a very different feel than what I thought, and he ends up meeting this girl there, and she takes him in, but then she has a boyfriend, and there's some drama that ensues that I was really buying. Like the characters to me seem wasn't very complex, but they seem well written, and I under like compared to some other shows I've watched recently this week. I believed where they were coming from, and I bought them as actual like people, and so I was into that. I gave it a 7.
Yeah. So finishing up what we have remaining of winter 2021, I've got a couple more shows I want to talk about a little bit to finish out this episode. We've got Kai Byoui Ramune, or Dr. Ramune, Mysterious Disease Specialist. This show was another one that I enjoyed quite a bit. It wasn't really like what I would call a sleeper hit like I did some of the other ones, because it wasn't really surprisingly good. It was as good as I expected it to be, and it maintained it throughout. It has a little bit of a kiddish vibe to it, I guess, but it's very episodic in nature. The overarching story, was good. Solid story throughout.
You finished this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty much only going to talk about them this much if I finish them. The episodic, every episode at the beginning, it seemed like a sort of Bakemonogatari situation where there's going to be like a different affliction every, well, in Bakemonogatari, it's every like 3 episodes or more. But in this, it was like sort of every episode. The first few episodes, there was like, oh, this person with this affliction, and we'll heal them, and this person with this affliction. And they sort of slowly started introducing the overarching story, which was sort of Dr. Ramune dealing with his the person who had trained him, his master, I guess, his sensei, and also Ramane's story with his own apprentice as well. And then it gets into the backstory of how they met, and yeah, I mean, none of the characters are like hugely changed by the end compared to where they started the series. If you take into account backstory and stuff, you can see more of a progression. But yeah, there's good character arcs overall, I think. It ends well. It ends very open, it's just sort of like the big arc has finished, and they sort of leave it open for doing these episodic, episode to episode sort of arcs.
Sort of a mix arcs. Then.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I would say it's a good show. I think I would probably give it a 7 overall. I think it was good. Yeah. It wasn't, like I say, spectacular or anything. It wasn't bad. It didn't disappoint, but it didn't stun me either. So, decent, leaning towards good. So I think I'm going good on this one. 7 out of 10.
Right on.
And then the other one I wanted to talk about, actually very briefly, because there's not a lot to say about it, is Yamishibai, 8th season. I've talked about Yamishibai before, and we've talked about whether it is anime or not. This really is the Is It Anime episode of our podcast. We're talking about a lot of things that wouldn't classically be considered anime, I suppose. This one is the paper theater, or based on the concept of paper theater, Kamishibai, and it's dark versions of that. So Yamishibai, because Yami means dark. And they're short. I think they're 7 minutes, if I remember right. 7-10 minutes. I don't remember. And they're just like these little sort of horror stories. None of them are like super horrific or anything. This season was overall a little bit lackluster. Every season they have hits and misses. Like there are ones that are like, oh, that was such a good episode. And then several that are just like, that was fine, I guess. This season was a lot more of, that was fine, I guess. And just a couple that were a little better than average, but nothing like truly outstanding. So, if you're a fan of Yamishibai and you haven't watched Yamishibai 8, you could probably give it a miss, to be honest with you. If you haven't watched any Yamishibai, I would say start at season 1. There's a couple of good solid ones in there. You're going to have to stick through the whole season, but like I said, they're only like 7 minutes. So, 13 times 7.
Yeah. Not so bad.
It's not a huge commitment. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that, I think, finally wraps up this episode. I'm just going to double check and make sure I don't have anything, super secret written down here or anything. Like Anime is the name of the podcast that you've been listening to. You like how I did that?
That's nice. It's like, but then you drew attention to it and ruined it. But
no, I wanted credit for.
I'm the one who edits it. You would have got credit later.
Anyway, you can find us on all of the socials. As I say every episode, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Reddit, we're everywhere at Anime. That's UMLIKEANIME. We also have our own website, which is anime.toyboat.net. You can find our schedule there, which should sort of inform you about what we'll be discussing during the episode. So if there's certain shows that you're into and certain shows that you don't want to be spoiled on, you can be sure to avoid episodes where we're going to spoil anything for you. And we have comments open on there as well if you want to comment on the episode. Really, we want to hear from you. Whatever means that you can find to reach out to us and send us a message and tell us, how great we are and how much you love us, or, whatever it is you happen to want to tell us.
That's just one of many examples.
Yeah. That's just, probably the most common, most likely example.
Join the crowds.
In any case, reach out to us. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're watching, what you're liking. Look forward to hearing from you.
See you next time.